With bailouts becoming extremely unpopular after the fallout of the financial crisis, new methods and schemes needed to be created in order to prop up this fraudulent banking system. As a result, we encountered the next level of hazard, bail-ins, Cyprus being the first victim, and now the pages turn over to Italy, a significantly larger economy and the potential to topple the European dominoes. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Let's get into the bail-ins today and focusing specifically on Italy. Let's go to this here. Out of the Financial Times, I'm going to discuss just a little bit in recent history as well as what is happening today. Up to 8 of Italy's troubled banks risk failing if Prime Minister Matteo Renzi loses a constitutional referendum next weekend and ensuing market turbulence deters investors from recapitalizing them, officials say. This is going to be something very huge. The referendums, of course, as we saw in Greece, don't mean much. For those who weren't paying attention, they asked, should we do a bailout? Should we take money? And they did a referendum. And although the people voted no, immediately they accepted the terms of the bailout. And that shows me that particularly in Europe, but also around the world, it truly means nothing. The bankers, the technocrats, the powers that be, they are always in control. Mr. Renzi, who said he will quit if he loses the referendum, had championed a market solution to solve the problems of Italy's $4 trillion banking system. Just imagine the effects of that and avoid a vote losing, quote, resolution of Italian banks under the new EU rules. And one of the things that I have remained consistent on publicly is this word. It's coming up in the next line. Resolution, a new regulatory mechanism, very huge. But this is it. Restructures. That to me is an alarm bell that's just going off. It's saying, everybody wake up, let's go, and let's get prepared right now. In fact, we need to already be prepared. Restructuring has something that they have done during the financial crisis. We also saw that in the Euro crisis, which took place a few years back. And restructuring is the most criminal thing that they can do because it doesn't absolve the problem at all. They take a whole bunch of garbage debt. I look at it the same way as what happened during the European crisis, where you have countries like Italy, like Spain, like Greece, that are just suffering so poorly, so terribly. And they take all of their toxic debt and they put it up into this little package. Whether it's, the European Financial Stability Fund, whether it's the ESM, it doesn't matter. What we have here is a repurposing of garbage. It's like trying to recycle garbage. And unfortunately, this type of thing, it doesn't benefit anybody. It's making things a lot worse. It's adding to the risk. You have a $4 trillion banking system in Italy, and with 8 of their banks right at the precipice here, you have a major catastrophe awaiting. It's not Cyprus, okay? This is much bigger. It's not Greece, it's much bigger. This is now Italy. I talked about it in my book, how I said specifically, the eyes are on Spain and Italy. They are next. And we saw what happened a few years ago with Italy and with Spain. As you can see them buying up all that garbage debt just to keep them afloat. It's not working though. All right. So there's more in here if you're interested. I'd like to get onto the other articles. Quickly looking at this. This goes back last year. Now, one of the subscribers, thank you very much, sent me this. And I just couldn't believe it. Did they bail in the Italian banks? And it seems like, at the BBC, Mr. Renzi said that the €4 billion rescue last month had to be done, otherwise thousands of jobs would have been lost. Check this out. About 130,000 bank shareholders and bondholders lost their investments. The pensioner left a suicide note. They're talking about one individual who died as a result of this. He unfortunately lost his money and killed himself, left a note. The rescue was financed by the big three banks, Unicredit, Intesa Sanpaolo, and UBI Banca. The Italian government intervened when it saw the four banks risked closing and losing thousands of jobs and deposits. Whoa. So let's think about this for a second here. The government is intervening. You have the ECB intervening. You have international agencies like the IMF intervening in Europe. Then you have the World Bank sticking their nose in. You have pretty much every possible organization, level of government, all supporting the system at its maximum level, which has never been seen before ever. And then you have the internet trolls, which will come out there and deny that this is the case. We are not in the financial crisis part 2 in some ways. This is back in 1929 times, where it's the roaring 20s and anyone who's not getting on this gravy train is a fool. I'm really worried about what's happening here because of the denial. Everybody seems to be denying it, except for a small few of us. There seems to be this grand majority of people who are saying, shut up, I got a lot of money riding on this in these stocks, and you better shut up. That's what I'm seeing a lot of right now, and it is freaking me out. Again, back from 2015. Let's look at this for a sec. Italy has used a controversial state guarantee to rush through the rescue of 4 banks before EU bail-in rules come into force next year in an effort to deal with tens of billions of bad loans hampering the country's economic recovery. The newly created Italian Bank Resolution, remember that word from previous, fund will raise $3.6 billion to restructure the 4 small lenders, these ones here. The rescue of the quartet lenders is a first step by the Renzi government to clean up the bank system's non-performing loans, which hit $3 billion in mid-2014, according to the IMF, and are hindering the provision of credit to Italian businesses. So what do? Well, as always, restructure. If you have a bunch of garbage, you can take it, you can assemble it in a different way, and then you can put it in these, modern art shows that they have, and all of a sudden, actual garbage, they've done this before, where actual garbage has become art. And, some people like it, whatever, but I see that happening in the financial system. Now, you know what? As they say, to each his own, but this isn't in that case. We can't look at it that way because people's pensions are riding on this. People's livelihoods are riding on this, and it is too important to just allow for it to happen in this way. It is extremely dangerous. People's lives are literally at stake, and that one individual who took his own life, it's literally at stake. Shareholders in Monte de Paschi di Siena, apologies to all Italians, on Thursday approved the bank's $5 billion capital increase, the first step in the rescue plan of the Tuscan lender. The second step, which starts today, concerns the voluntary conversion of subordinated bonds in MPS shares. Subordinated bondholders will be offered €1 equal to the nominal value of their bonds. They're saying it's a great deal. They're saying it's wonderful. Look what you're going to get. They have to convert their value into shares. So now you're going to get shares of this particular bank. Did you want that to begin with? What I see happening to individuals, let's bring this to a different light here. If you're looking at your 401k, your RRSP, your super, depending on where you live, if you're looking at your retirement account now, and you think, look, I'm going to be 65, maybe 60, whatever you want to retire at, 70, 80, you probably have to for a lot of people. You're going to retire, and then you're going to have this retirement account, which is going to allow you to, live a little bit more comfortably, or at least allow you to live. What if, though, those retirement accounts were replaced by shares of particular banks? What if those were replaced by government bonds, future dated? How will you be able to access your money, to access your wealth? Well, the fact is that you're not. And that's what I fear for all of this banking system, how they're able to do something like this, a recapitalization, a restructurization of the system. And essentially, as it's eroding away from the inside, the people don't really see it as theft directly. And they'll find out one by one as they try to pull their money out. They try to, access their funds in some way when they desperately need it the most. Perhaps they're going to tax people heavily on it, and it just isn't worth it for a lot of people, or the government gets to take back a large percentage of that. There's so many things that they could do, and this is very, very frightening to me. Last but not least, under tougher new European rules on bank bailouts, public aid can only come in after investors have taken a hit. The share offer has drawn little interest so far, partly because investors are fretting about political instability in Italy ahead of the constitutional referendum on December 4th that could unseat this current government that they have in Italy. Now, you're looking at this. I just want to point to the very last line. The bank has 13 billion euros in liabilities that could be hit under the so-called bail-in rules. They're making all these claims right now. I just see the bail-in as something that will be the new normal. They're going to do this. They're going to say that individuals who have their deposits with these banks are not going to be hurt, although I do believe at some point it's going to happen. It has happened before in the past. We've seen it, and I do believe that it will take place in the future as well. Let's keep our eyes on Italy. Let's keep our eyes on Europe. Of course, the dominoes are falling, and that is something that what I would say is you don't have to be in Europe, or you don't have to be in one of these, let's say, weaker countries, because the dominoes fall and they're headed your way. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. Last but not least, if you found this video informative, then I know you'll find my book, The Money GPS, even more informative. So just go over there. You can flip through the book and see if you like it for yourself. Take care.